Hello everyone, welcome to a bumper edition of In the Box Seat. Paul Joice, Alec Cohen, let's get amongst it. Magic Millions Gold Day, the first running of the Sunlight slot race. What a program it is too, Joycey.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
I forgot that.
All of the holidays. You haven't seen us for a while, so we better tick off all those.
Get it all done. But yeah, we're back into it now, aren't we? Full swing into the races, heading to the Magic Millions in a week and a bit. But of course, we've got the Sunlight on Saturday, $3 million. Like a race at the Gold Coast a week out worth $3 million. Yep. It's pretty huge.
You could make a case of looking at the nominations for next week as well, that this could even be the race of the carnival. It's just got that feel about it.
It's just something new, different, exciting, and I think that prize money just adds to it, because it is such a huge prize pool at the end of the day. We don't see many races in Queensland worth $3 million. I think we have 4 on the calendar, and this is now one of them.
And obviously a massive support card as well. The wave going up to 500,000. We've got the syndicate race as well being moved to this day. So it's not only the Sunlight we'll be watching. There'll be plenty of other support races on the day that'll be ones to watch as well.
And that's the thing, Ella, when you're doing the form, Joycey, like previously the wave had sort of some benchmark races to fill the void in, but now every race is a feature this year, all 10 and all 10 next week.
Absolutely. I mean, the main race is worth $3 million. We've got $1 million in the other race that Ella just mentioned. Then the consolation's worth $250,000. The wave's worth $500,000. And of course, the lead-up races are still worth a lot of cash as well. But
and there's a lot happening off the track as well. You'll hear, obviously, preparations are in full swing, so you might have some noise around us because we're all getting ready for tomorrow. It's going to be a massive day. Some things to mention. We've just announced a special performance from Daryl Braithwaite.
Yeah, we heard that come through yesterday.
The man himself will be here singing horses to the crowd. So
he wasn't singing How's That? Or?
No. He's going to be performing horses. I know it's a surprise, but that's going to be a major feature on the day. Also, the Magic Millions Gold Karaoke competition hosted by Mike Tyndall and Nicole Slater. That'll be happening in our Fountain Lawn marquee, so you'll have to go check that one out. James Mack, the greatest bongo man. The
bongo man
will be playing in GG's until late. So he gets the crowd going after the last. So I hope to see both of you in GG's.
I wouldn't miss the bongo man, Mitch. Would you miss the bongo man?
No.
Miss that opportunity, surely.
Plenty more happening. We've got DJ JL Fox in our event centre. So if you're heading to Amalfi on the coast down there, you'll be hearing tunes from her all afternoon. We've got Danny Doon trackside. We've got food trucks. We've got bar activations. The Tab Clubhouse will again be open. You can win some prizes in there. There are still tickets available. So if all that doesn't make you want to come to the races on Saturday, I don't know what will.
No, it really is the place to be.
It's a late start too, isn't it? Late start.
Twilight.
So the lights will be on late.
Yeah, so gates will open at 11 for our members and 11:30 for the general public. Function rooms open at 1. So it is that Twilight meeting a little bit later, and I think the last 3 will get under lights, maybe the last 2.
Yes.
Let's go back in time to the night meeting. Silks Under the Stars, December 20. What a night, what an atmosphere. The racing was outstanding on track. We'll touch upon Arabian Summer when we talk about the Sunlight, but the light shows, the drone show was so spectacular. It really was a great night. Big crowd.
Huge.
Over 9,000 turned up, and the place just had a real vibe about it throughout the night, didn't it?
Absolutely massive night to be involved in. It just went off without a hitch. The light shows, the drone shows, the live music, and just the crowd and the buzz. Like the buzz was just enormous. It was great to be on track and experience that. And from a coverage point of view, I think it's the best coverage I've been involved in at Sky. It was just so exciting. The night flew by. Bernie was hosting, and of course we had Jimmy Orman as a special guest, and he was just outstanding. And the feedback we got from that coverage, like you don't get a lot of feedback. You like to get positive feedback, but off that, my phone was just going all night. Like, how good's this? People sitting around watching it at home, and obviously the coverage on Sky was pretty good too. So it was a great night.
And you can see why night racing is so popular and why Big Bash has become popular for the younger generation coming through. The time frame from the start of the day to the last race, it's smaller gaps. There's a race every 30 minutes. You feel like there's a race, just around the corner. There's no long gaps. And everyone said if night racing is going to work anywhere, it's got to work at the Gold Coast, and the first one was a massive tick.
And like you both said, the buzz, I think the minute you walked through those gates, everyone was just excited to be here. It didn't matter what happened on track, off track. People just wanted to be here and wanted to experience, it was a bonus that the racing was amazing and the drone shows and the light shows. So it really was just an entertainment precinct from start to finish, and I could just feel everyone's joy to be there. And for us as a team, congratulations to everyone behind the scenes who put that together. It was a massive effort, but came off without a hitch, so super exciting.
And leads us to a good segue to preview the Sunlight, because one of the stars of the night, the GC 1000 winner, was Arabian Summer. Track record was 55.67. She ran 56.32, which was still sensational time.
Sensational
on the night, because the track wasn't riding that fast, so her time was outstanding, and the manner of the win, you could see it. It was she annihilated them. And
she goes into the race tomorrow, a slightly tricky draw. She didn't fare the best at the Barry draw here on Tuesday. Lady of Camelot, race favourite at $2.70 through tab fixed odds. She fared extremely well. Yes. Barrier 1. Is the only caveat that there's a lot of speed around her. If she was just a touch slow from the inside, that she could end up 3 back the inside.
Yeah, I think, look, when you're doing your form and you've got a short price favourite, and she's not that short, and we're about to touch on the odds in a minute, but you do sort of do that monsters under the bed sort of thing. Like, imagine you get caught on the fence from barrier 1, you can't get out. But in reality, you'd rather draw 1 than 11. She's drawn 1. You've got Blake Shin in the saddle, who's an absolute master of handling big race pressure. And I still think she's going to be in the perfect spot. Whether they want to lead on her, whether they want to take a sit on her, Lady of Camelot is going to get the gun run from barrier 1, and she's going to need an out. Yeah, she's going to have to get out at some stage. But I don't think it's as big a problem as what some people may get in their heads, because I think Blake will find a way, and he might even find the easiest way out.
So after the draw, Joycey, she looked the horse to beat pre-race, pre-draw. She drew 1. Does she go on and tip herself now?
I think she does. As I said, I was really keen to try and find Arabian Summer to beat her. Yep. But the more I look at the race shape, the more I look at those barriers, the more I look at the price. I mean, $2.70 I still think is a ridiculously good price for a horse that's already won a Golden Slipper. She's run Group 1 placed twice since, so it's not like she was a one-off slipper winner. I think it was the Moya and the Coolmore, so they're proper Group 1s. And she's also run 4th in an Everest, which is an absolute proper Group 1, and I think she drew 10 of 11. So, I mean, if she'd drawn a good gate there, she probably goes close to winning an Everest. So, I mean, you can't get better form than that.
No, and, set weights, conditions. And,
that's it. It's not a handicap. No. So, I mean, she's thrown in...
She 110 rate or something?
Yeah, she just looks... but I mean, in saying that, we've got 3 unbeaten horses.
That's the thing, too. You've got the X factor.
They have never been beaten. They've won by big margins. They're all coming here, never tasting defeat. And so they're all got all this upside. And obviously their ratings aren't anywhere near hers, but they haven't had a chance to compete at that level yet. So I think that adds a heap of interest to this race, Ella.
Speaking of barriers, barrier 1, but in barrier 2, we can't forget about Spicy Martini, the Gold Coast Turf Club and Aquis horse. Now, obviously, a little bit further down in the odds period, but it is drawn barrier 2. What do we think of Spicy Martini going into that race?
Well, Spicy comes along like these other 3 horses. We've got Private Harry and we've got Gerringong, right? They've never tasted defeat. They've never really looked like getting beaten yet. So we just don't know where their ceiling is going to be. And I think that adds a lot of depth to this race as far as when you do your form, because you're getting a big price about these horses. Not so much Private Harry, but certainly the other 2, it's tempting. If you own those horses or you've been backing those horses, you're going into this race thinking, I'm as good as Lady of Camelot, I'm as good as Arabian Summer.
Absolutely.
But in reality, from a punting viewpoint, Mitch, are they that good?
Well, I think Private Harry was far too short.
Originally.
Before Lady of Camelot was announced, and now starting to get out to his right price given what he's done. You have to say that he has to take another leap forward, but Nathan Doyle's had that much faith in the horse. And this isn't an afterthought. Like a few of these may have been selected, later. As
Spicy Martini's probably the last one in, but picked herself. Didn't she, with that winning 2 from 2, doing everything right, trained here.
That's right. She's already a stakes winner. In winning the Mode Plate. And we better mention the tab horse, Vestas. Of course, we had some
input.
Yes, a few meetings with all the other tab representatives, and it was sort of between 2 horses. I think we can say it now, between Vestas and Amazing Eagle. Amazing Eagle sort of went a different direction, and then Vestas was selected by the tab. Awfully unluckily beaten in the Red Roses at Flemington during Cup Week. They've kept her fresh. She had a jump out here the other morning. Only thing I didn't like about the jump out was she missed the kick.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about that because you called that. And she was slow away, but she really built up the revs late. She's got a beautiful action on her. She's obviously classy.
Yep.
She should be 2 from 2. She should be a Group 3 winner. So she's another one. She's extremely lightly raced. She's got loads of upside. She's got an explosive finish on her. Yeah, she'll probably give them all a head start, particularly if she comes out a touch slow like we saw in that jump out. But there could also be an abundance of speed and pressure in this race. And as we said, the track's racing perfectly. So there's no reason, if she's good enough, she can't get to the outside and let rip and make things very interesting for Tab.
She's the one that you feel like if it's last man standing, she'll be the one flying down the outside.
Sure. And I think if she did win, you'd be surprised, obviously, that you managed to knock off the 2 shorties.
Yep.
But you wouldn't walk away completely shocked with her if she won the race, because we know she's got the class and we know she's got upside, and obviously Clint McDonald is extremely happy with where he's got her.
Is there any roughies?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I just think looking at the set weights nature of this race, if it was a handicap, then you could start looking at some of those lighter weighted horses that are really on the up. But the fact that it's set weights, for me, Lady of Camelot and Arabian Summer, they're just too dominant on figures. And I think they're a decent price.
Yeah. I wanted to find a spot for Stolly Bolly, who wasn't far off Lady of Camelot in the Coolmore.
Yep.
One's $26 and one's $2.70. He just might want 1,200 to find his best, or he might be just a rung below them and may have got to the Coolmore while a few others were coming off Everest runs, and his run might have been a bit flatter. But I think for the record, what are your tips for the Sunlight?
Well, I've got to go Lady of Camelot now after the barrier draw. As I said, tempted to put Arabian Summer on top originally off that big win we saw her in the lead-up race. And I did think originally when I was looking at the form that Arabian Summer had the better timing coming into the race. Like, she's been set for it. Everything's gone right. She's ready to peak. Whereas Lady of Camelot is going to be a huge training performance by Gain Adrian to get her from a Everest into a Coolmore, into the paddock, back into work, back into a trial, and then back to the races for the grand final. But if anyone can do it, they can.
That's right.
And I just think the fact that she's thrown that barrier, we know how tough she is. She's been there and done it so many times. That under set weights at 270, it's just too tempting. And I actually think at 270, she's a really good bet.
Yeah, I actually thought she'd firm a lot more after the draw.
I thought you'd be lucky to get $2.
Yeah. Ella, what's your thoughts?
I'm actually going to stick with Vestas. I think what you were saying before, that it is a good race, and Jamie Carr aboard. I think Vestas, this is a chance, and as you said, it's not a shock if Vestas does win. So I think I'm going to stick with Vestas on this one.
And if Arabian Summer went forward, for example, and put the pressure on where there's already going to be a lot of pressure, it's going to be that last man standing, the last horse standing, and that's where I think Vestas could come into play. So it all depends on how the tactics unfold, I think.
All facts and figures aside, Lady of Camelot probably should be winning. So she's my selection.
Your tip as well? So Lady of Camelot, and
Vestas,
the tab Vestas.
I had to go the Aquas or the Tab horse. I couldn't stray very far.
And you do like a spicy martini,
I do like a spicy martini, so that's definitely my. Not that there are any roughies, but that's my roughie in the race.
You got a roughie, Mitch?
Stolly Bolly.
Okay.
Yeah. For the rest of the program, what have you come up with?
Well, I'm torn a little bit with the Tab Wave.
Yes.
Do I tip Arts Object?
Yes, you have to.
Of course.
Well, I'm a bit of a jinx with her, right? But you know what? The race has come together really well for her. She's come up with Barrier 2. I thought Gold Bullion was probably the horse to beat, but she was only a length off Gold Bullion when they clashed last start of Eagle Farm, and she drew the outside and had to do a bit of work. Whereas from Barrier 2, she's going to get the gun run. She won here last year over the 1800 in the Tab Wave, so we know she runs the trip out. And she's $12. She's firmed up from 15 into 12 with Tab, so we'll tip her each way at the $12. But I do think Gold Bullion will be very hard to get past, but obviously I've got to stick with her, I think.
I think map-wise, they're the two, because it does look a modest run race. Gold Bullion to lead, and Arts Object, second or third, hopefully?
You'd love to be third the fence, just trailing Gold Bullion instead of sitting outside Gold Bullion to try and get that last shot at him, and especially if it does develop an on-pace sort of trend of the race, which on paper it looks as though it may sort of lean that way.
Lock Eagle and Tannhauser probably wanted genuine soft tracks.
Well, they probably want the rain, I think, and obviously they would prefer a solid tempo, and they mightn't get either of those. So I think the race is looking good for her, and I think that's why she's probably firmed this morning from 15 into 12. She might even firm a bit more.
Speaking of facts and figures and ratings, Moravia looks thrown in.
Moravia.
He is Moravia, though.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was looking at it last night. I'm thinking, I've just got to declare Moravia. It just looks an absolute certainty from the draw at the ratings of the set weights. But it is Moravia.
Yeah.
And it is 1,300. I
Yeah.
don't think Moravia's gone past the 12-1.
No.
And Moravia's Moravia. Can find a way to get beaten. So I don't think I'm going to declare Moravia. Probably tip it on top maybe. But I will be looking for something maybe at odds just to go each way over top Moravia. But it's going to be hard at the weights. There is one in the maiden I like, Hell to Pay. For John O'Shea and Tommy Charlton. That's $2.90 at the moment.
Yeah.
But has been running through very strong Sydney maidens. Has been flashing home over the 1,200, gets to 14, gets the right draw. I think Craig Williams has been booked. So Hell to Pay is probably the one that jumps out at me at the moment, sort of over the whole day.
As much as John O'Shea can kick the cat after getting beaten in a race, I don't reckon he would have been disappointed the other night because, well, she wins the other night.
She's not eligible for this race. Yeah, and she just probably was probably the run she had to have, wasn't it?
Looks desperate for the 1,400 now.
Any other tips on the day?
I found Mitch has actually found me an Omen bet on the day in the maiden plate. Divine
This
Ella.
This is a good roughie.
Divine Ella. I
Yeah.
couldn't not tip it here on the show. I mean, with a name like that, it is, I think, an emergency at this stage, or it could be...
No, it's in the field.
It's in the field. There we go. So I'll be backing Divine Ella.
25 to 1, Paul Murray.
Couldn't not. How's that for a name?
Yeah.
And what about you, Mitch? Anything else?
I sort of keep coming back to Golden Boom in the Syndicate.
Oh, yes.
Last year, he ran in the race first year. Derry Grove was too good for him, beat him fair and square. But this year, they're going into the race third up, and he seems like he's a gross horse that for a short course sprinter, he needs that first up run. He had a lovely trial recently. Yeah. I think he can turn the tables on Derry Grove this year.
He's exceptionally good horse, Golden Boom, and I think the key for him is just, as long as the track's not too wet. You know, he just doesn't go on that really wet going, but anything better than that, he's up on speed, he makes his own luck, and he's hard to beat for sure.
I know it's short at about 220, 230, but if Talk to Be Sure replicates the tab, the debut run from the other night, it should be winning. And if it does do everything right and win, it's not hopeless next week.
No. Well, I was listening to the radio this week. The stat was, I think, 6 out of the last 11 Magic Millions winners have raced the Saturday before. I'm not sure about that, but it was something along those lines. It's currently 18th, and so too is Zoo Claire in the fillies division. They're both 18th, so actually both trainers didn't want to start this week, but they have to go. So the barrier draw next Tuesday for the millions, the beach race.
The beach race, always a favourite. We love that one, getting down there at the beach.
Calcutta next Thursday.
Calcutta next Thursday. There is so much happening this week.
So another bumper show coming up of In the Box Seat next Thursday. Enjoy Magic Millions Gold Day. Can't wait to bring you all the action here of the Sunlight plus all the other feature races. Catch you next week for a big preview of Magic Millions Day.